Danna's an amazing person, an amazing human being, and I love her so much and respect her work and her energy. And she's been on TEDx, so that's like a big deal. I would love to do that one day. And she's, she helps people heal their trauma through hypnosis and through work that she does with them. So one of her clients, who's a good friend of mine, sent me this today, because I wanted to know about her experience. So don't get embarrassed. So I went to see Danna and was not sure what to expect or what I was looking for. I knew there were things holding me back, but I didn't know what they were or to what extent. Unlocking the subconscious is something we are probably not ever prepared for. As the session progressed, I found myself learning a great deal about myself and a great deal about Danna herself, a healer, possibly a wizard, with a heart painted gold. The trauma that we know we carry inside of us, we can try to work on. The trauma that lives in our subconscious is what is actually holding us back from reaching our fullest potential. I hope most of that oh, no, that was to me. He just said, I hope most of that makes sense. It does make sense. That was awesome. So, welcome, Danna. To the stage. Here, baby. You're welcome.
Well, I'm not supposed to cry before I speak, but I actually have no idea who that is, so I'm going to find out afterwards. But that was very touching. Thank you, Alex, for doing that. So thank you, everyone, for being here. I really appreciate it, and I think it's awesome that you took time out of your busy schedule to learn about the mind and learn about yourselves, and I hope we have a little bit of fun while we're here. And thank you also already for sharing. I've learned something already. I learned a lot, and I've just been sitting in that corner over there. So thank you for being here, and thank you for Alexandra for inviting me. And so for those of you that I haven't actually got to meet personally, my name is Danna Pycher, and I'm a hypnotist. I'm a public speaker and also an author. And those are just labels and titles, but in reality, from my heart, what I do is I work with people to basically, again, find out who they are and to kind of eliminate all those things that we think we have in our mind and we think we are and things that really shouldn't just be there anymore. I actually heard recently, I forget who it was that said it, but that the majority of the world actually behaves and interacts with each other through the eyes of a 5-year-old. Does that make sense? So I said that I heard recently, and I found it very interesting, that the majority of the world, that most of us, are still behaving and reacting towards each other as if we're looking through the eyes of a 5-year-old. Yeah. What does that mean? That, again, the majority of... Yes, mature 5-year-olds. Yes, mature 5-year-olds, yes. And so something that happens today might remind you of something that happened when you're 5, and then you react towards it as if that person was the person from the past, and it's not correlated. It's not related. So, and I'll get into how that works in a bit. So I'm known to specialize in trauma and disease, and actually the correlation between the two. And it's interesting, what I've learned over time is that your psychology, the way you think, can actually come up in your body. And that is a personal experience from myself and also from many, many of the hundreds of people I've worked with so far. And it's actually interesting, one of you mentioned earlier, and I want to speak about that. I worked with a woman yesterday for Crohn's disease. And she's like, Danna, I need to work with you, ASAP. She's having and I don't know if all of you, even, Abby, who's here with me today, everyone I know right now in these past 2 weeks is deathly ill, something sick. It's just something's going around. So this woman had a flare up and she's like, I have to come see you. She's like, I know there's something in my psyche flaring this up. And she's very a conscious woman, obviously, if she knows this. So we worked together, and what was really cool, what was really interesting, what ended up coming up, and a lot of what I do is you go through the body to the underlying messages that are kind of repeating and repeating and repeating in the mind to create some type of flare-up. So with her, what was really interesting is what she had to learn was to trust herself, which is what you said. And that was the core psychological undercurrent of what was flaring up her Crohn's. I mean, it sounds abstract and a bit out there, but there's so much correlation between mind and body. Okay, so that's what I love to do. That's my passion. I find it intriguing. My mind is literally blown hour after hour after hour of seeing this stuff work. But that's not exactly what we're talking about today. So we're talking more about the big C, confidence. And you would think that potentially confidence is not necessarily, as important or as significant as trauma maybe, or trauma and disease. But actually, I think I'd like to tell you the opposite, where what I've found through working with people is that the antidote, really the underlying healer, the undercurrent of healing that I find with a lot of people is when you go into these past memories, there are instances of feeling not significant. There are instances of feeling invisible. So what's interesting is when you go, and I find that the antidote really for, even when I work with people with addictions or eating issues or illness or confidence, the underlying antidote really is the feeling that you have a space in the world, that you are necessary to be here. There's a necessity for you, and also just the feeling of being worthy. Worthiness of feeling love and just feeling good in general. So I'll tell you what, I would say 98% of the people I work with, those type of emotions, which we might take for granted and think they're lighthearted and frou-frou, they're not. They're actually very valid. So it's interesting, actually before I got into doing this work, I used to be in broadcasting. I used to work as a reporter and a producer. And actually, I don't know if you saw me talking to the camera guy earlier and being like, let's do this. But it's still in my blood. And for a job like that, you would think that you need a ton of confidence. And you need confidence. But in reality, my natural disposition is I'm actually a very shy person. Naturally, I'm very shy. And when I was working in this, and even before that, growing up, I kind of realized that being shy didn't really hold much merit to much in the world, but that's my natural disposition. Yet time after time of putting myself into uncomfortable positions, sometimes on purpose, I learned to be outgoing. And then time after time after time, my brain kind of understood that, okay, she's outgoing now. So that's a little bit of what I want to talk to you about today, is the fact that your perception is everything, and your emotions are everything. And the fact that who you think you are might not even necessarily be so accurate. And I'll tell you this also. There are people I work with that have everything in the world. Nothing's missing, but they're miserable. I don't know if you've seen that. Yes? Okay, miserable. And there are people that I know that have nothing. Simple people, they have nothing. They don't need all this, and they're happy. So what does that mean? That emotions are everything. Emotions are the motivators for every single thing in life. Your emotions are the most precious things that you have. If you're hungry, you eat. It's that simple. If you're sad, you look for a way to become happy. And there are emotions that are potentially negative motivators, anger and stuff like that, but anger also serves a purpose. Anger is the seeking out of justice. When you are angry, if someone did something wrong to you, you just feel as if something happened that was not justified. And then hopefully, to maybe being a more evolved person, instead of feeding into the anger, you can learn something from it and you can communicate about it and say, like Alex was saying earlier, this doesn't work for me anymore. And all of that is growth. So emotions are the motivators behind everything. Okay, and confidence is obviously one of the top tier emotions that we want to tap into. And we'll get into that fun part in a bit. Who are you today? What are your thought processes today? What excites you today? And what from your past maybe created a bit of fear that inhibits you? And again, like we spoke about earlier, actually fear is another emotion that's not necessarily a negative. Fear is a motivator. Fear can be and that fire behind fear can just go, and to challenge yourself. Actually, the reason trauma, if you want to go there and be a little bit esoteric, because I like to do this stuff, trauma and things that happen to you that are difficult, they're actually the most blessed gifts that happen. And I actually see that all the time now. Now when I see someone that's traumatic, had a traumatic life, or a very challenging case, per se, I see the beauty in it, because I'm excited for them. Because what is going to happen when they overcome all this stuff that has happened to them? Who will they be when they overcome that? And that's exciting. That's really interesting. And trauma is our biggest teacher. And if you can look at it that way, kind of from more like an observer, rather than swimming in it and drowning in it, you're like, wow, I did that. And I'm here now because of that. And now let's just get rid of it. That type of thing. Okay, so confidence. Confidence. I'm sure you know that when you see a confidence person, you can actually like smell it on them. Like confidence has a smell. I think it does. Or when they walk in a room and the air changes, the atmosphere is just different now. There's an aura, there's a presence. And especially being female lawyers, or everyone pretty much here is an entrepreneur of some sort, a powerful woman, and it's awesome that you're here. And again, I love it. All of the things that you've spoken about already have been fascinating to me. So confidence is important for other people. It's important to have an image of confidence when you're in a meeting, or you're going in front of a judge, or giving a lecture, whatever it is. So it's important to appear confident. But that's actually half the importance of what it is to feel confident. So looking confident doesn't mean anything if you don't feel it. And it's not only about feeling confident, it's about having this trust in the fact that you're making the right decisions. All the thousands of decisions we make daily. Wouldn't it be nice to just feel, okay, I got this? Without second guessing everything, just having confidence, just feeling where you can flow with what comes your way. I recently got invited to go see Tony Robbins, which you guys probably know, you girls know. And it's interesting, a client of mine invited me and he's like, you should go see this. And I was like, nah, I don't want to see him. And I was always resistant to Tony Robbins for whatever reasons. And I kind of felt as if he made shallow, the work that I do, and I take what I do serious. But actually, when I went, I'll tell you what, I was blown away. I really was blown away. And the few days that you're there, and he admittedly says he does NLP. He won't say to you that he's hypnotizing thousands of people at once. And I found it beautiful. I found what he was doing very empowering and very beautiful, that he can do these exercises with the mind, and people leave, thousands of people are leaving empowered. So I really, really left that weekend and I thought to myself, this guy's doing a big favor to the world. So it's interesting, one of the people that he brought up on stage, or in the audience rather, says, bless you, he was like, why are you here? And she said, I'm depressed, I am lost, I have no confidence, etc. He's like, okay. He's like, let's do some fun stuff with this. And he basically said, close your eyes. And then he did some NLP work. And basically, he had her tap into a memory of which she was happy. A memory of which she was exuberantly out there. A memory of whatever it was. And literally within 30 seconds, you're seeing this girl smile. Okay? So she had a shift within 30 seconds. It didn't take years and years and years of analyzing the dynamic between you and your mom and your dad to find your power. It just doesn't. And it's fascinating because, again, the mind has experienced all the spectrum of emotions. So the fact that you're sad in this moment, it's okay, you can be sad, but you can tap into happiness because you've been there before. You felt it before. So who's to say that if an experience happens, let's say your boss comes down at you and you feel upset, and that's valid, why not? But who's to say you have to sit in it for the next week? You can be upset, you can kind of gather yourself, and then you can tap in to your resources, your internal resources. They exist, they are there, and they're prime for you to go and get them. So basically what he did with this woman, he brought her into instances of which she was over and above her personality, and she could not be depressed after that. He's like, go ahead, frown. She's like, I can't. She's like, no, be sad, I can't. And that's 30 seconds. So can you imagine what just tapping into your brain for 30 minutes would do? Just to go in, kind of explore, be interested, be intrigued by who you are. And then imagine that maybe even, majority of people I see is even major depression. I see them maybe 2 months. That's it, And it's nothing I'm even doing. If you've ever felt happy, there's the possibility for you to tap into that, amplify it, make it big, and allow the brain to kind of attach to it. We are equipped with the most fascinating machine that exists on Earth. And we take for granted the fact that, again, our blood is flowing. We're breathing. And we don't have to do a thing. We are miracles. The fact that you're breathing, you're a miracle right now. That's it. And the fact that now that you can think about the fact that you're breathing without doing anything, come on. So that's the power of the mind. So imagine just tapping into that, and you can do it all on your own. A lot of people meditate, and it's interesting because meditation is really coming into a comeback, which is a great thing. And hypnosis and meditation, they're essentially the same thing. Meditation is basically clearing the mind, tapping in, who am I? Who am I connected to this bigger picture? Hypnosis is going into the meditative state. That's basically all I do is I put people into a meditative trance. And then it's basically meditation with a purpose. There's a goal. What is it you want? Do you want to reduce your weight? Do you want to have the thought process to be able to hold on to, whatever diet you want to do? That's a whole nother story. Food and diet is a whole nother story. But I will tell you something really quick. Food and diet, again, it is something we do every day and we take it for granted. But a lot of people don't take it for granted because there are people that their obsessive thoughts about food is detrimental. And because it is something we have to do every day, and actually weight reduction is one of the more difficult clients, maybe just for me, I don't know, I see trauma and I'm like, you're done, you're fixed, which other people would think would be more difficult, but maybe it's because my orientation towards it. But weight reduction is interesting because until you feel safe in the world, internally, no diet's going to work because your subconscious mind wants to protect you. So if something happened to you in the past that said, do not be attractive, don't even think about stepping out looking like that, because what happens is a potential threat. Your mind, again, is the most beautiful, creative, gifted machine. So if there's potential for threat, it'll say, no, don't you dare become more attractive. Because remember what happened when you felt this happen and that happened to you, and you got hurt because of that. So I find that interesting that the moment you feel safe in the world, your diet's going to work. Because it won't be sabotaged by that feeling of protection. Does that make sense? Okay.
Blowing my mind.
Blowing your mind. I love it. I love blowing minds. I do it every day, every hour. And it blows my mind too, really. It really blows my mind too. And, okay, so back to confidence. Confidence it exists within you. It's there. Even if it's kind of dug deep underneath all the other layers of whatever's going on in your mind, it's there, it exists. If you've ever achieved something, not even that, if you've ever had a smile on your face, you can tap into confidence. So let's have some fun. Let's tap into some confidence. Let's do some interesting meditations, a little hypnotic meditation of tapping into confidence and empowerment. And by the time you leave here today, hopefully you'll feel like you can take on the world. And as you should, because you can. Okay. So let's do a little meditation. This meditation, I call it the path to confidence. It's pretty practical. As you'll see, we're going to go down a path into confidence. And you'll see. So basically, all I'm going to ask you to do is before we start, if you can think of 3 people, just 3 people that love you. And they see you. It can be your mom, it can be your child, it can be your 5th grade teacher. It could be a relationship you had once that, they were very, kind to you. They saw you in a good light. Just go ahead, take a couple seconds now and just pick 3 people. It could be anyone. When you have it, feel free to just nod your head, say yes. Yes, we're good, we're good, we're good. Okay. Okay, so you can keep your eyes closed, actually. And let's get started.